Okay guys, so tonight's homework is on textual support, and for our next proficiency you're going to be asked to infer but also to provide your own text support to help back up your position and analysis for this next test. So let's talk about how to do that. So the goals for this proficiency, you need to be able to explain what the text says implicitly and explicitly, and we're going to talk about what that means in a minute. You need to be able to refer to details and examples from the text and show that you can draw inferences from the text. So as far as the background information, you need to be able to grab any kind of information and support from the text itself, but then also think about all of your background information that you've learned about the Holocaust and the pieces that we're actually reading, and show that you know how to draw inferences from the text, and you can refer back to your notes on what is inferring to remind you of what that process looks like. So explicit writing means that the text is fully and clearly explained. For example, maybe someone says, or here's the example anyways, Sarah asks, "Can I get a pass for my next class? Mrs. Carter always wants us to have a pass if we're tardy." So the explicit is obviously that I want you to have a pass. The implicit is maybe that I've asked for passes in the past and the student clearly doesn't want to be marked for a tardy. So that's stuff that isn't clearly stated, but you can infer based on the information provided that those ideas are valid. So explicit again versus implicit. Implicit is any of those unspoken, hidden, or inferred ideas from the text, so it's the opposite of explicit. The purpose of being able to find explicit and implicit meanings in writing is to be able to present an idea or an opinion based on a problem or a question, and to prove your point you need to provide examples from the stories, both explicit and implicit examples. Explicit messages are clear and can be seen immediately, whereas implicit messages are less obvious and more hidden, hence the need for your inference. So as far as finding the textual evidence, the first step is going to be to read closely and to pay close attention. Reading closely can reveal if the author, that says other, but it should be author, is stating something explicitly or implicitly. So take notes or do other activities provided by your teacher that force you to look closer at the reading. You're already familiar with doing research and including quotes in your writing. That's what we just did on our last unit. So this is really similar to that. You're just going to be using quotes from the story instead of facts and statistics. And you're going to use those quotes as evidence to support your writing. Not as a means to summarize the text, but more to say, you know, this quote backs up what I'm saying. You should try to use MLA citation, which we've practiced in the past unit, to cite these quotes. Again, refer back to your notes on citation if you don't remember. So odds are you're going to use the author's name and or the page number towards the end of the quote to make sure that you're citing where it comes from. And this will be very easy. So as far as how to get from proficient to mastery, on the test I'm going to be asking you some questions based on some teacher-provided quotes. That's to get proficient. But eventually I'm going to ask you to find your own quotes and make your own inferences on the text to support that you fully comprehend the ideas and the story itself. So again, to be proficient, I have provided you some quotes, and then you are going to be answering some questions and providing your own analysis. To get a mastery score, you're going to have to provide your own quotes and analysis. And then finally, to get an A, you're going to have to move on to thinking about theme and how it relates to the text, and to show some support there as well. So one of the ways that you can use textual support is to start with some of these very basic evidence-based terms to start your sentences. I am just asking that you write down your top 3 favorite sentence starters, but these are good ideas for how you can include those quotes in the text. Think about what sounds the most academic to you, what sounds the most natural, and write down your top 3 here. So as far as different ways to connect with the text, you can think about visualizing or trying to picture your text and making a connection through that visualization using your 5 senses. A lot of the literature we're reading through from the Holocaust does in fact get really graphic and descriptive with the five senses. We've talked about that already as far as their use of explaining the different smells and sights that they saw upon entering these camps. Connecting to the text by thinking about your own personal experiences or maybe even other things that you have read that relate to the topic. So this will be really helpful as we start reading lots of different pieces, poetry and short stories and the novel itself. This will just help you show that you've read other things and connect that way. You can also show your own reaction, describing how a portion of the reading makes you feel, and then use an example from the text to show how that has in fact caused an emotional reaction for you. You can retell or summarize about what you read by putting it into your own words. What did you just learn about? What does it mean? Listing the main points, and then again using a fact, or not a fact, but a quote from the text to support what you're saying in that retelling. Again, all of the above ways are great ways to comment and analyze on a text, and for each of them you can select a quote to support what you're saying. Okay, so again, at the beginning for proficiency, I will be asking you questions, so these are teacher provided, for you to then give an answer and analyze. And then as far as I'm concerned, if you can get a couple of supporting evidence pieces to back up what you're saying, especially in the theme paragraph, to get an A, 2 to 3 is great. Anytime you're asked to provide evidence, 2 to 3 options is phenomenal. And then past that, don't forget to cite. That's where can you find this in the text portion is coming from. So don't forget the citation is really important. So, I mean, at this point, we've worked on lots of different skills that just build on one another. So we started with summary paragraph, we moved on to full-on essay, expository essay, from there into our persuasive essay, and working on citation. You've been working on citation in your history class as well. So these are all pieces that you should be really familiar with at this point. Alright, we're finally finished. So, don't forget to do the digital portion here and rate the tutorial if you found it helpful. You can, of course, ask me any questions on Edmodo or down at the bottom here on Sophia, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. And we'll also start working on changing things up a little bit and doing a little quick in-class discussion on our homework just to make sure that everybody's clear on the topic. So thanks for your feedback last week, guys. I'm taking it into account, and I will check your homework, and we'll have that discussion tomorrow. Thanks.